Good morning, good morning, good morning, people. Good afternoon, um, good evening, whatever time of the day this video may find you. Listen, today I'm going to do a short video on one of the hardest, I think it's the hardest video that I've done on this channel so far, because it is a video where I am challenging us to look in the mirror. Okay? And this is not to push any all and full blame on any of us about our situations that we're in toxic relationships. Because truth be told, toxic behavior is learned. It is a taught behavior. And even though we have this label called toxic on it, at the end of the day, it's sin, sinful behavior. Yes, as a Christian, I always have to look at what the word has to say about things. I have to look at things in God's perspective, how God has explained things to us to get the clear understanding of the full truth. Okay? Listen, nothing is new under the sun, people. Nothing is new under the sun. Everything, these labels and different things that we call things, God has already talked about it in our Bible. He has, or the apostles, the disciples, prophets, Jesus, different things have been written in the good book about all these things. However, us as humans, we come up with ways for us to understand human behavior and for us to understand what's going on. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that that's not a good thing. For sure, it is definitely a good thing. There is a professor named Sam Bakinen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He is a professor of psychology, I believe, and he's also a narcissist, but he fully explains the psychology of what's going on in the mind of people with toxic characteristics. Okay? But when you look at him, everything that he's saying, for sure, it is happening. It is real. But it is also in the word. But, us as humans, we've, come to our own understandings of how to articulate that thing. Okay? So I'm saying all this to say, I don't hope I haven't lost anybody because, the attention span. But I'm saying all this to say, listen, people, especially people that were married, you were meant to be with that person. Some of these relationships that we were in were karmic partners, people that was only supposed to be in our lives for a short period of time. And we both were engaging in toxic behavior. And I'm not saying both was cheating or whatever, but in order for us to be in relationships with these people that severely abuse other people, we had to have things going on with our own selves. Okay? Trauma that we had not dealt with. We talk a lot about the scapegoats in the family. And all that happens is, I think I mentioned it on a couple of videos that I've done before, that severely toxic people that are on the level where, okay, their personalities are so toxic that they can for sure be labeled as a narcissist, usually hooks up with a scapegoat of another family, or or someone that is toxic but not to the level that they are. And listen, people, here's the thing. I'm going to do a video on this. This is why this flying monkey thing exists, okay? Because unless you're not living here on this earth, we all fall short of the glory, right? We've all sinned, okay? So, when we start talking about these personalities and the things that these people are doing, the flying monkey thing comes from people saying, well, I've done that. I've done that thing. I used to do that. Well, I do that sometimes. Well, my husband does that sometimes. Or he's like this, or she's like this, you know. And if I admit this, then I am saying that something is wrong with me. So that takes me back to the reason for this video, the mirror. Okay? And why it is that God would allow somebody that has fallen short of the glory, but has a desire to have a relationship with him, why would he allow them to get into a relationship with somebody that does not have that desire? And the key is, people, God wanted both of us to help each other come to him. Because see, here's the thing. We can be walking around thinking that we have it all together, that we're not flawed, or, you know, we're not those people, right? But we do have our own things going on. I'm going to give you an example. I remember when I was young, about 15, 16 years old, and I was in a relationship with my first real boyfriend, right? The first guy that I had been intimately involved with, my oldest daughter's biological father. And I remember being so proud of who I was in that relationship, because everybody was like bragging about girls like me, you know, the girl that she's not messing around with a bunch of guys. She just has her one boyfriend, and she's only been with her one boyfriend. But people, the thing is, it was a lie. I was fornicating just like the other girls were. Don't get me wrong. I understand that there's a difference between someone that is involved in hoardism and somebody that, you know, that is fornicating. You know, I get that, okay, with one person. I know that there's a difference. However, that still doesn't mean that being with that one person is not sinful. Okay? I understood this when I got married. And I think it's the thing that actually helped me during all of the abuse in the last years, and throughout the divorce, and even now, to not have any desire about getting into a relationship with somebody else, or communicating with somebody else, and I was married, you know. I remember getting down on my knees and asking God to forgive me, not just for being with other people before I got married, because there was a couple others, but also for being with my husband, the man I had married, was getting ready to marry, had just married. I asked God to forgive me for being with him as well. And I'm believing that this was right after we got married. Yeah. But the thing is, what I'm trying to say is this is just one thing. This is just one. And I talked about that thing because that's one of the major things that happens in these kinds of relationships. It's what we call the cheating. Okay. And I'll talk about that later on another video, the whole cheating thing. But my thing is, I challenge each and every one of us, because if you really want to get this right, if you really want to heal, if you really want to understand what all happened here, so that you can be a healthier person, mind, body, and soul, is to look in the mirror. Go back. I just want you to go back to that first day when you met that person or persons. Because if you were with a person that has characteristics of what they're determined as a narcissist, more than likely you had multiple of those people that you had been in relationships with. I'm going to tell you the truth. When I look back, everybody that the 6, 7 guys that I had been in relationships with, he was, so 5. They were on that level. They were. And I was playing some games with them, but it was not in my personality to want to be like that. I'm going to do a video really soon. I've really been thinking about it. How we almost were these narcissists ourselves. So I'm going to cut the video. We're about 13 minutes in, and I usually go 10 minutes, but I want you to really think about that. Just go back to when you first met that person and think about your personality, what it is that you was doing in your life, what it is they were doing, the person that they presented to you, because that plays a major part for you understanding what you accepted. There are things, I promise you, this is going to help you guys. I'm telling you, it's going to help you. There were things that I had not thought about in decades. Things that I didn't even realize, when I went back to think about how we actually got together. I'm going to do a video on it. I probably want to do a live on that. It's a lot. And I think it's important for us to talk about these things. But I want you to do that. And when you do that, just sit on that and talk to God about it. And when I start doing lives, or you can come back here and put it in the comments. what it is that you saw. I would be interested in that, to know that. When you went back to think about what it was that was going on in their life and your life. And even think about this. What about your family? What kind of relationships did you have with them when you met this person? Because this person is just the catalyst, y'all. They're just the catalyst. We're here on this earth, and because of that, we've been programmed. I'm going to talk a lot about that. We'll dive deep into that. But I wanted to do this video here. I hadn't done a video in months. I did one about a week ago, just letting you guys know that I was coming back. And I felt like this would be a good topic for my first video coming back onto the channel. But anyways, people, I hope this video is helpful to someone. And I'm hoping and praying that it is something that is going to help get us on the right track to sufficient healing. You can partially heal. You don't want to do that. There's a thing called anger management, where they teach you how to manage your anger, you know. And I've always had a problem with that. I remember thinking, you know, even when I was younger, anger management. Like, why would you want to manage something like anger? Why wouldn't you want to get rid of it? Okay? So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. I don't want us to partially heal or just some of the things, because this is why there's a repeat in our lives. I know that there are going to be a lot of things that I'm going to talk about on this channel that people are going to have problems with, but you know what? I'm standing on that Bible. And here's the deal. There's God's truth. People say that there's 2, 3, whatever truths or whatever is your version, her version, and the truth. No, there's God's truth, and there's our opinion, and there's what we witnessed, what we saw in our eyes, which is our opinion about what it is that we saw. But there's God's truth. So anyways, love you, love you, love you. And I hope and pray that this video is helping someone. And I'm ready to start this new journey, wholly healed, and hoping that God uses me as a vessel to help others heal too. Listen, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.